Well, good morning, Kicksters. Welcome to the Morning Kick on this Thursday. And we're right in the middle of some website lessons that we hope are valuable to you as you make some decisions about your digital marketing for your business. We realize that sometimes having some of the guests on are actually helping you understand all the different resources available to you, whether you're a business, you're in commercial, whether you're a charity. But how about some practical ideas that you can actually implement or start considering in terms of how you grow your business? Now, a couple of days ago, we had a look at how a supermarket can teach your website how to be a better website. You want your website to be a superhero, to be a salesperson 24/7. But one of the interesting things that we find when we look at a website or a digital marketing strategy is that there is a key missing ingredient, and that is traffic. You can have the best looking website in town, but if nobody's visiting, there's a little bit of what's the point? So, one of the things we want to talk about today is how to bring traffic to your website. We don't want a lonely website, the wallflower of the internet, sitting there doing nothing. We want to make sure that it has friends coming over to see it. And like any good party, you want it to be the right fit friends, people that are going to get on together and have a great time. Those are the customers that you're looking for. Now, here's an example that we often use when we're talking about the principle of getting traffic to a website. Imagine that you were going to open up a coffee shop for the first time. And that coffee shop, you and your partner, you've basically put everything that you can into making sure it's going to be an incredible experience. So you found a good location. And with that, you decided to decorate it so it had a really great ambience. You bought the best espresso machine on the market. Everything's set, but it's empty. What are you going to do? Now, it's common sense that you're going to know that you need foot traffic past that cafe door. You need to bring people in. You need to spread the word wide as you can to start getting customers in. And then you impress them with service. Then you impress them with the quality of the beans and the quality of that latte. But what about your website? Are you thinking the same thing? Imagine that you've got a business that has a front door to the public. And every day you look out of your office, there's nobody in the foyer, there's nobody talking to your receptionist. Wouldn't you take action to start bringing customers in? So, why not your website? So, let's have a look at some of the traffic that can come into a website and how do you actually get them there in the first place. We're not going to be able to cover everything in 15 minutes, but certainly I hope that we can open your eyes to how important the whole equation of traffic plus the website is to successful business. And I say from the outset that this applies to B2C, dealing with consumers, and B2B, dealing with business. Now, if you are in business and you've looked for a business partner of any way, shape, or form, a supplier, a new person to work in a contract, I bet you Googled. You say you don't, but we know the statistics show that around 54% of B2B business starts with search. So let's not lose out the sight of what your website should be doing as well. So the first area that we're going to concentrate on is organic search. Sometimes you hear it talked about as Google or search engine optimization, SEO. There's three different types of traffic we're going to be talking about, and I'm throwing in a bonus fourth category at the end of the video. Stick around to find out what bonus category 4 is. First of all, let's have a talk about organic search. That's when you go to a search engine, and most popular in Australia will be Google, followed a long way back by the likes of Bing and Yahoo. And don't lose sight, there is the second biggest search engine in the world, and that's YouTube. So organic search is really the long game. We talk about it being earning your way to the front of the queue. So if you want to be on page 1, and I can tell you now, it's not just about being on page 1. You can actually improve the amount of traffic and the amount of conversion on your website just by inching up one more step on the listing. So going from position 4 to position 3 could be 10 or 20% more traffic. Going from position 3 to position 2 could be another 10, 20% more traffic. So even inching your way up to the top is equally as important. So it can take time, depending on how competitive your space is within your particular industry and how competitive a particular keyword. Now, a keyword isn't just one word, it's a phrase that you might search on the internet. And if you want to get there for organic, you need to work with a team. They're going to help you edge your way to the front and get those long-term results of being able to hold your position when you appear in the search engine with the right product or service to the right customer. Very shortly, I'm going to talk about the importance of actually trying to sell yourself on Google before people get to your website as well. The next category that we want to talk about is what's called paid traffic, sometimes referred to as PPC, pay per click. And that's because of the model that's involved. Now, it can appear in a number of different platforms around the internet. Of course, we're familiar with Google. We see the ads at the top of the page, now known as Google Ads. We've also seen the little display ads in Facebook. And for those of you that spend time on LinkedIn for the B2B space, that's another platform. So we talked about organic search being earning your way to the front. So what do we refer to with paid traffic? It's paying your way to the front. One of the great things about paid traffic is that if you're willing to invest in the cost up front, you can actually pay your way to the front of the queue. Now, think of it like you're taking the family to Disneyland and you've got there and you're wondering, should I actually wait in this queue for 3 or 4 hours or should I buy the quick pass? That's kind of what PPC or pay per click is all about. You're actually paying for the privilege to go to the front to talk to the customers that are there. And if you want advice on that, it's really important to start looking at paying for the right clicks because you don't want to talk to customers that aren't a good fit for your party, for your website. And it's also important to work with somebody who strategically looks for maybe keywords that aren't as competitive. What do I mean by that? Well, because some words are very competitive, the price can go up in particular industries, for instance, in finance and property, also in personal injury law. They're so competitive, you can spend 20, 50, even over $100 just to get one click to your website. But in some areas, there are what are called long tail searches. That's where 4, 5, 6 words are used to actually comprise a search. And the click rate might be as low as $1 or $2. So it's worth working with somebody who looks for the good gains for the right customers at the right price. And that lowers your cost of acquisition. Now let's have a look at another category. Now this category is the one that we all wish we had all the time. I call it the direct or referral category. It's where people know about you. They know about you because you've got a good name in your business. They know about you because people are spreading the word. Well, sometimes you might have heard of it talked about as word of mouth, but also I'll throw into this social media, people talking about you and giving you a reference on social media. It may not be a word of mouth, but it's word of mouth because that's what we're using digitally. Also, people that have maybe seen a sign of yours. So anything of what we call above the line marketing, where they've seen your van driving down the road, they've seen a billboard, they've seen a brochure. All of those things are referral traffic where people actually are looking you up by name or they know your domain name and they're coming directly to you. So these are 3 different types of traffic, all with different types of nuances that you should work on. And I don't want to lose sight of what I said earlier when I mentioned to you that it's so important to realize that you start selling before people get to your website. Imagine that party for a moment. We want the party to be what people expect. Imagine that it's going to be a fancy dress party and I turn up being the one that's not in fancy dress. How am I going to feel about that whole thing? I'm going to feel out of sorts that I'm in the wrong place. Well, you've got to set the expectations right. And so when people do a search for you on Google and they look at your listing, is it actually giving the right impression? Does it talk about your value proposition? Does it talk about how long you've been in business? Does it talk about why you're number one? Does it talk about why your pricing is so good? Does it talk about your warranty? All of these are equally important because here's an important factor to realize. You've done it yourself. You've searched on Google and you didn't click. You've searched on Google, looked at the results, and only clicked sporadically on 1 or 2. Yeah, we know that everybody tends to click on the top 3, but there are many searches done where there is no click through. So I'd encourage you to start asking yourself, do you actually have a great sales proposition? Is your search engine listing doing the job it needs to? Because otherwise, nobody's seeing that fantastic website you just had built. Equally important. Well, as we wrap up this special edition of The Morning Kick, I want to talk to you about that 4th category. Now, this is a bit of a secret one and one not to be ignored, but don't lose sight of the fact that probably a lot of your traffic's coming from your mum. Oh, dear. That's not what you wanted to hear, is it? The fact that if your website has traffic when you look at your Google Analytics, but the reality is that it's you your mum, your staff, your friends from the rugby club are the only people visiting your website, you'd appreciate that's not how you're going to run a business. So let's have a look at those other three categories and decide, are we going to get more than mum traffic? First of all, is your search engine rankings going to work for you with organic search? It's time to invest in the future. In the old days, a business had what was called goodwill. You could actually sell a business with that. Today, you can sell a business because you have great search engine rankings, and that shows how valuable your business is because of the traffic. Decide whether you need some short-term wins. Are you going to buy the quick pass like the queue at Disneyland? Get pay-per-click advertising working and get to the front of the queue. And for particular industries, actually, that's the way to go every day of the week. And finally, never lose sight of getting advocates for your business out there. Word of mouth, making sure that you have a great audience of people spreading the word about your business. Well, I hope that's been useful for you. I don't want you to have a lonely website. I want you to make sure that you invite customers over. Next time on the Morning Kick that we actually look at a website lesson, we're going to have a little bit of an exploration of talking about your website, the salesperson, and your receptionist. I look forward to catching up with you then. In the meantime, please spread the Morning Kick videos. Make sure you share them on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and of course on Facebook. And I'll see you next Tuesday.